And what I want to talk to you about today is how you mitigate risk in the most fragile moments of a company's life. I like to think, I forgot who first used this construct, but it's a good way to think about it.
성공을 위한 채널. 오늘날 많은 기업들이 창업을 하고 많은 기업들이 실패하여 문을 닫습니다. 프레드 더스틴은 기업이 실패하는 이유를 알려줍니다. 그는 유명한 벤처 투자가로 수많은 스타트업의 투자 경험을 바탕으로 어떤 문제가 스타트업을 망하게 하는지 알려줍니다.
So we're going to talk about most startups fail within the first 24 months. And there are many things you can't control, market timing, macro conditions. But there are a bunch of mistakes that get repeated over and over again that I've witnessed in my life as a venture capitalist. And that's why I'm on stage today to talk to you about that. So I'm on the dark side of the force, I'm an evil investor. But I have spent a lot of time financing companies at the seed stage. And what I want to talk to you about today is how you mitigate risk in the most fragile moments of a company's life. I like to think, I forgot who first used this construct, but it's a good way to think about it. You can think of a startup as having three key assets, team, technology, and traction. And usually most companies will score highly on one of these dimensions, but they rarely will score highly on all three. And they always belong to the same categories that have to do with talent, time, choices, and cash. So let's kind of run through that. So I always say defeat starts at home. Most startups die because of internal issues, and these internal issues have to do with who they have as co-founders, who they hire early in the team, who they have as early investors. There is a professor at Harvard called Noam Wasserman who spent most of his career talking about early startup failures. And what he found was the number one mistake people do, so about 2/3 of startups fail because of people issues, according to his research. The number one mistake people do is they start a company with people with whom they're socially close, and that ends up killing them. So it's not because you get along with your best friend from school that is the right co-founder. It's actually very often better to go out to interview 40, 50 people, find a technology co-founder with whom you get along, get to know each other over 6 months, and then start a company together. The other thing that will kill you is a bad investors and a bad board. There is a saying in Silicon Valley that a bad board kills a company every time. So if you have investors who are overly involved in your operations, that's a bad sign. You really want to watch carefully who you allow to come into your precious baby. This is not a game. The early days of a startup are critical. If you find your co-founder is not the right person, you're gonna have to make that early decision to either change their role. The other thing that really screws people up is time, because when you raise a seed round, you think you've got all the time in the world and you've got this perfect plan in your head. I'm gonna recruit, I'm gonna launch, I'm gonna get metrics, I'm gonna go out to Series A with fantastic metrics. What a great plan. And then, reality hits you in the face, and then you go, oh shit, I hired the wrong set of engineers. I thought they're great at Android. Turns out they're .NET guys. So now you're fighting for survival because you didn't anticipate the impact of time. You weren't realistic about all the shit that goes wrong in startups. Now, the hardest thing as an entrepreneur is that you have to make decisions in conditions of uncertainty. You have imperfect data or no data at all, yet it is your job to make hard decisions about where the company go. And then I put this little acronym that says, cash is more important than your mother. Ultimately, the only thing that really kills a startup is running out of cash, right? It sounds obvious, but I cannot tell you how many times I've had founders who are so busy working and executing that they forget to raise their head and look 6 months out and say, oh my God, I'm running out of cash. And they're so busy trying to make progress that they forget to think about what's gonna happen when they hit the wall. So your primary job is to make sure you can pay the salaries and you can keep the lights on. No, but I'm here to tell you what it's really like to build them because I've seen too many fail and I love my entrepreneurs and I don't want you to be in the same boat.
스타트업을 시작하려는 여러분께 말씀드립니다. 중요한 사람, 시간, 선택, 자금을 확보하고 자신이 하고자 하는 것 한 가지에 집중하세요. 여러 가지를 도전하려 하지 말고 한 가지부터 성공하세요. 그 한 가지가 당신의 첫 성공이 될 것입니다. 재미있게 보셨다면 구독과 좋아요 부탁드려요.